We're heading deep into the Appalachian Mountains, one of the oldest and most mysterious regions in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and let's take a look.
I've got a really creepy one for you tonight. So for Thanksgiving, we traveled back to where I'm originally from, which is out here in the offsets of the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee. And it's a little town called Gainesboro. And anyhow, there's just miles and miles of darkness back here. But my family has a unique way, like I grew up in a unique way of, like, we made our own like little settlement out here. Like all the houses on this hilltop are my family. Like there's my aunts, there's my grandma's, my uncle's is down that way. That's my my great aunts. There's my uncles, other uncles, and then these are like my cousins that live right there. So growing up, we could just run free in this whole area, and it was just all family. And there's like nobody on this hilltop for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres that is outside of our family. Well, we're eating Thanksgiving dinner today, and my Uncle Jeff, who lives right over there, was talking about how my cousin that lives right in this little dark area right there, you can't see the house, at 2 a.m. the other night, he was on his front porch. His back was hurting, so he went out on the front porch and was just getting some air, and he hears what he described as like this just blood-curdling scream. And what's crazy is my cousin that lives over there actually confirmed his story. He was like, oh my gosh, I woke up from that. Like I was in a dead sleep, and it sounded like it came from right behind my window. And I literally like jumped out of bed and woke up and didn't know what the heck was going on. And their dogs were going nuts about it, like freaking out. And, this is just total darkness out here. There's no one else that lives out here except for us. And just to hear them confirm that story, because when I was a kid, see that house right there, which is right next to that house that's over in the darkness. When I was a kid, when I was like 8 or 9 years old, I woke up to a figure in the window, because we used to keep the windows open in the summer, standing in the window looking over me and my cousin while we were sleeping. And I freaked out and panicked. And that's the same like stretch of woods. Like, if you guys know anything about Appalachian lore, there's like all kinds of just strange stuff that goes on up here. And I could tell stories for days about the stuff that I've seen and that my family has seen. You might have heard me tell the ghost light story where I was hunting in those woods. You can't even tell. There's woods that go way, way, way back there where I'm literally hunting in the woods, and it's early in the morning, and I'm the only person out there, and I see a flashlight come on, and I stared at it because it's still dark out. And I stared at it, and the flashlight went back off just like after 2 or 3 seconds. And I was waiting for daybreak to see who was over there. And when daybreak came, there was nobody over there. And when I walked over there, it was actually like a 200 to 300 foot drop off a cliff that if I would have went to investigate that in the dark, I would have fallen off that cliff. And that is a phenomenon called the ghost lights of Appalachia, where they believe that phantom spirits try to lead people to their deaths off a cliff. Got chills talking about that one because that one was so eerie.
This took place in the year 2000 in January. And I'll leave out some of the details, like the friend who was with me. I won't name them unless they want to come on here and name themselves. But I will name the little town that it happened in. It was in a place called Gibson Station. I live in the Appalachian Mountains, in the heart of the mountains, in Virginia. And I had just gotten a car. It was a blue Mustang. It was an older one. It was an 80s model. It was my first vehicle. I loved it. I was 17 years old, and I couldn't wait to take it out and drive around. And so on this day, we decided to go to Knoxville, Tennessee. And I lived in a little place called Pennington Gap. Well, my friend and I, it was just her and I, we drove on our way to Knoxville. We were going to go through the Cumberland Gap, which is right beside of Gibson Station. And as we rode through, we decided to stop at a gas station and get some drinks for the ride, maybe some snacks. And as we stop at the gas station, we noticed that there's an old 80s model Trans Am, like the Firebird, the one with the bird painted on it. And that's not that unusual. Those cars were really popular at that time. Like I said, I had an 80s model Mustang, and so those kind of cars were pretty common to see. But still, it was a really nice one. And so we get out to go into the store, and a gentleman comes out, and he's carrying a case of beer in each hand. I can't remember what kind of beer, but he's got both hands full. And my friend at the time, my best friend for a really, really long time, she was just enamored with him. Now, he was a little out of place. So he had big almond-shaped eyes, dark skin, really long dark hair, even longer than mine, and mine is pretty long. His went down to about his hips, and he was wearing an open shirt with no shirt underneath, so it was a flannel just open to his skin, and a pair of leather pants, and he had his fingernails painted. And at the time, in that area, you just didn't see that sort of thing. And of course, my friend was a little boy crazy, and she fell in love. And they kept talking, and I kept trying to push her in the store because his eyes were abnormally large. And when he smiled, his smile was a little too large. She didn't seem to notice, but his eyes were 3 times the size of mine. And so I immediately got the heebie-jeebies and was ready to go. And he was carrying those cases of beer in each hand. So I drag her into the store, and she's complaining the whole time. You've ruined my life. Let's just hang out with him. He said he's going to have a party. Let's follow him. He said we could follow him to his house. No way. We're not following this guy. I got the weird as soon as we saw him, so we're not following him. So we get our snacks and we leave, and he's still at his car, and he's propped up on the side of it, talking to us over the car. I don't even listen to him. I'm pulling my friend along, dragging her to the car. We get to the car, and she is literally almost in tears because she wants to follow him so bad. And the trip to Knoxville was my idea. She didn't even really want to go. So, and her birthday was January 6th. So it was in like 2 or 3 days. So I felt really bad. And against my better judgment, when he pulled out, we pulled out behind him. And so we were following him. He motioned out the window like, hey, I see you. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is a bad idea. We're going to get murdered. And for some reason, as soon as I had seen him, vampire clicked in my head. As soon as he turned around and I saw his whole face. So we follow him, and he makes a turn off into a field, and it's almost right after we're following him. There's a road in the field, and it kind of goes over a little hill, so you can't see where the road goes. I follow right behind him. As soon as I turn onto this road, I don't see his car anymore. There's nowhere else for it to go. It's a huge field with a road through it. Not even like a gravel road. It's a dirt road. And I was in a Mustang and he was in a Trans Am. So I figured if he could get through, I could get through. And so I keep going because I see that there's some trees down over the hill that the road snakes through. I have no idea how he got so far ahead of us. But my friend is so excited. She's like, oh, he's just up ahead. He's around the trees. He must just be going fast. Which, why would you be going fast if you wanted us to follow you? But I go through the trees. And when I do, there are giant rocks everywhere. Because this is just a field with a hill, with a cow path that we're following. And we get stuck. I finally maneuver enough that I can get around. We come to this clearing. It's this huge field of just green grass. And there's all the way around it, for as far as we can see in the tree line, on the other side is a river. Not a huge river, but there's no bridge to get across. And the other part is just woods. And the Trans Am is nowhere to be seen. And we had been right behind him. So as soon as we get to this field area, my car is stuck on another rock that I didn't even see. I was a new driver, was not doing a good job. We get out of the car to look and see if maybe there's a road that went somewhere that we missed. And as soon as we opened the doors, this confirmed every suspicion I had. If you've ever heard people or heard it yourself, the whispering that sounds like 1,000 voices talking at the same time, but you can't quite make any of them out, those started. We both heard it. We shut the doors. We just looked at each other. We really didn't say anything. I just said, we're stuck. We can't get out. Let's go see if we can get some help from the gas station. We get out of there to the top of the hill. As soon as we get away from the road, it's gone. And I thought, okay, maybe it was the river, because we try to convince ourselves that it's something normal. No way he was a vampire, and it's definitely just the river, but there is no mistaking that sound. We went to the gas station and tried to ask for help. They were not very nice. We tried to ask about the guy in the Trans Am. Didn't really want to talk at all. But he gave us the number for someone to come and help tow us out. So the day goes on and on, but he comes to get us out, and we ride in the truck back to the field with him, and he's very sketched out. This is an older gentleman. He's probably 70 at least. If he told me he was 80, I wouldn't be surprised. And he says, we have to get you out before dark. He just kept saying that we had to get out before it got even dusk. And he just wanted us gone and out of that town. When he got out of the truck, we heard the whispering. He come back to the truck, put in earplugs to go back and work on the car to help pull it out. He finally tows us up to the top, and there's no mistaking that that's what was going on. Every time he opened the door, it started again. It was not the river. We get to the top with our car. He basically throws my keys at me and says, get out of here and don't ever come back through here again. And don't ask about people that you don't know about. So strange.
As many of you know, I grew up in deep Appalachia. The place I lived was a place called Jasper, Georgia. It's right next to LJ. And I lived in the place where the show Squidbillies was based on. And we have a Squidbillies shrine in our town center. I had a friend that I would stay with pretty often, and her family owned a 300-acre farm. And when I say family, it's just her and her mom who live there. And so they have like all these farm animals, and they have different parts of their land that you have to walk through trails in the woods to get through. Like, in order to get to one barn, you have to walk through the woods for like 10 minutes just to get there. So there was one day that I was sleeping over there, and we had been home alone all day. I was probably in 3rd grade when this happened. Some of you might ask why me and my friend were just like 2 3rd graders alone on this farm. And it was because my parents were getting a divorce, and so I needed a place to go, so I pretty much lived with this girl at the time. But back to the story. So my friend's mom was on the way home, but I guess there was like a lot of traffic, or she was running late or something. So she called my friend and she asked her if we could like go down to one of the barns and feed the horses before we went to bed. So at this point in time, it was probably like 8 o'clock. The sun was going down. It was about to be nighttime. You could still see the sun and the light when you're in the open field, but in the woods, it was like pretty dark. Like there was no sunlight. So my friend and I started walking through the pasture to the woods, and she had a flashlight with her. We got to the woods, she turned the flashlight on, and we started walking. We were walking for maybe like 3 or 4 minutes through these woods, so we're about halfway through the trail, and we're just talking about some shit and laughing. And then all of a sudden, my friend just stops talking, and like I was kind of just like looking at her, like as we were speaking. I wasn't really looking in front of me. And then she just like drops the flashlight and starts sprinting in the opposite direction, like back to the house. And so I was like, "You okay, Rebecca?" And because that was her name. And I turn and I see her sprinting, and the flashlight was just like on the floor in front of me. And I was like, what the f-? So I turn back in front of me, and I just see like maybe like 10 feet away this gigantic like white figure. And I didn't look at it for long, but just like the sheer height of this thing, whatever the f was, scared me so badly that I looked at it and immediately was like fight or flight mode. Like I felt danger. So right when I looked at it, I turned the other way and booked it. I was running faster than I'd ever ran before. So fast that I passed my friend, and I was like running and pissing my pants at the same time. Like that's how scary it was. And so I ran all the way back to her house, and in my brain I was like, what is the one place I can hide right now where no one will find me? And the only thing I could think of was like I just ran to the laundry room and I got in the dryer. And so I was just sitting in the dryer, and it was like one of those old school dryers. It wasn't like plastic clear cover, so it was just like a white door that closes it from the front. And so I was just in there. I was like curled up in a ball, and I waited like, I don't know, what seemed like 15-20 minutes. I was just in there covered in piss, and eventually I thought that whatever the was in the woods had like killed my friend. And so I was just crying and like I was freaking out, but I was also terrified and didn't want to die. So I was just sitting in there. And then eventually my friend walks through the door, and I can tell that she's crying and she's like hyperventilating. She's like like I hear that. And so I open the dryer, and she's like scared when I open it, obviously. And I was just like also crying, and we hug each other, and I was like, "Where did you go?" And so she told me that she had ran and she got into like this trailer that was kind of near the house, because it was the only place she could think of to hide. And so we were both hiding, and I guess she just like mustered up the courage to run to the main house. And so we were both just like trying to explain what we saw and like put together whatever the was. And this was like 2008, maybe 2009. So I think I was like 12 or something when this happened, but this was way before like any of these stories were like even around. So we couldn't even put a name to like what the we saw out there. And so when her mom finally got home, we tried to explain what just happened, and she just like dismissed us, and she was like, "You girls are just like overreacting. You guys saw a bear or like a deer or something," which is still terrifying if we saw a bear, but it definitely was not a bear, because this thing was like pure white. And in the dark, it's like the only thing you can really see is like, if there's someone standing in front of you with a white t-shirt, like you're gonna see that. But this thing was completely white, and that's all I remember is just like this gigantic, like 7 or 8 foot tall thing just like standing right in front of me, staring at me. And so I'm not friends with this girl anymore. I haven't talked to her in probably like 15 years. But I just remember that story, and I remember being so scared that I pissed myself.
Covered countless miles, documenting treks through some of the most remote trails in the U.S. But during her 2025 return to the Appalachian Trail, she faced something that disturbed her far more than any previous challenge. The day started as usual, after a restful night indoors and some time editing. Madison hit the trail before sunrise, aiming to be back hiking by 8. A spontaneous ride from a friendly stranger named Andre shortened her walk and lifted her mood.
Dude, the trail provides! I was just woke up early this morning, was so productive. I had video stuff to do, writing stuff to do. I did a ton last night, but I just didn't have it in me to do everything. I was so tired. But got up early, did it all, and I told myself, you know, gotta leave the room before 7:30. I want to be back on trail by 8, and it's like a 30-minute walk because it's a little over a mile. Probably would have been less, but just for gigs, I stuck my thumb out and got picked up by this guy named Andre so quickly. He was just so ridiculously nice. So he just saved me 25 minutes of walking down this road to get back to the trail. So now I'm back, baby. Great night last night. It was so amazing just getting a room and catching up on sleep and being comfortable. And yeah, dude, I can feel it. I feel energy is good. I think all of this change was exactly what I needed. So this is going to be a magical week. I can just tell, man.
She felt refreshed, motivated, and confident about the days ahead. Her good spirits lasted into the morning. She crossed into Vermont, her 14th state on the journey, and bumped into another hiker named Sunflower. More kindness from the trail community followed. People tried to help recover a lost pendant, and a familiar trail angel known as Iceman offered her food and conversation that fueled her for the climb ahead. Everything seemed set for a successful day.
Update. Just met Iceman. Had such an amazing lunch with him. Hot dogs with coleslaw and all this stuff, and potato salad, Mountain Dew. Texas sheet cake, baby. So good. It's always so nice to see him. He's just like the nicest person ever. He's a delight. And that got me fueled up. Now I'm in the process of doing this big climb. It's pretty much a 10-mile climb up from that road. But it's like the steepest to start, and then like it's kind of gradual that I remember the rest of the way. So this will take me to a fire tower and shelter, and then I'll have, I don't know, 4 or something miles to go past there to the next shelter. Just trying to set myself up for like a 26-mile day tomorrow, so I can go into this into Manchester and have like a half day, be done by 3 p.m. would be amazing.
After parting ways with Iceman, Madison started a steep 10-mile climb leading past a fire tower toward a shelter. Roughly a mile from the road, she turned onto a short spur trail to use the privy and noticed a man in bright orange near the shelter. At first, she assumed he might be a hunter, signaling a warning, but as she drew closer, something felt off. His posture and actions were unusual. Instead of greeting or moving on, he silently watched her and made a strange hand motion, not a wave.
So pretty much things were just amazing. I had lunch with Iceman. I hiked in. I got a mile or so up from the highway, and there was a shelter, and I thought I might stop off and see if the shelter had a privy. You could basically I could see some frame of the shelter from the trail, but it was just off trail. So I start walking up the side trail, and as I get close, I notice that there's someone there wearing some orange, and they put their hand up, signaling something to me. My first thought is they're a hunter. They might be telling me that they don't want me there or to move, or that I don't know. They were signaling something with their hand, and then I realized they had were open hand telling me to come to them, and I took my headphones out. I couldn't hear. I just wasn't expecting to see someone. I wasn't expecting any kind of interaction. So I was confused. I was caught off guard. And then all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, come here. I need to talk to you." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I didn't get close. I was probably 20 or 30 feet away, enough that I could see them, give a rough description of them, but I wasn't very close to them.
But a beckoning gesture. When he shouted things that made no sense, saying someone was trying to poison him, and asking for help, her instincts flared. Madison kept her distance, backed away toward the main trail, and then bolted. Panic took over. She sprinted through the woods, every sound and shadow intensified by adrenaline. Later, she said she had never felt so terrified on the trail. Madison didn't stop for nearly a mile and a half, pausing only to film a breathless update while anxiously glancing behind her.
Once they started saying stuff to me, I kind of stopped getting closer to them. And then they said a couple other things, one of them being, "Hey, come here. I need help. Someone's trying to poison me. Come here, come here. And I heard that. I know no one's behind me, but dude, I just keep looking. That's where I'm at right now mentally. When they said that, I turned and ran for my friggin' life. And I only looked over my shoulder once, just roughly to see, are they chasing me? Because as I ran, they were screaming, come back here, don't go, come back, and other stuff like that, which is friggin' terrifying, actually. Oh my gosh, my adrenaline is spiking just talking about it. And I'm climbing a mountain right now. And back there, it's I was climbing a mountain at that time. It's a 10-mile climb up from the road. So I run down the spur trail to get back to the trail. I'm kind of smart. I actually cut into the woods sooner in hopes that if they didn't stand up right away, they wouldn't be able to tell if I had gone north or south. So I was hoping maybe they think I went back to the road, like the highway. Maybe they don't know that I went into the woods.
In those moments, the feeling of being followed and the man's confusing, desperate calls for her to return made the situation truly frightening. Once she calmed down, she recounted the event more clearly. The man hadn't attacked or pursued her, but his vacant stare, bizarre gestures, and the isolated location all made the encounter feel unsafe.
So I called my dad, gave him a rundown of my location, where that had happened, where I'm headed and everything like that. So he can call the police at some point. He already did. He did file a police report. And the police, shocker, don't think anyone is going to be sent into the shelter to investigate, which is crazy because yeah, the guy didn't chase me. So he probably wasn't trying to assault me or hurt me. Because if he had wanted to, he could have. Because I'm in the woods and I'm alone. But he's clearly some kind of mentally ill. He's having some kind of a breakdown, or he's on drugs because he thinks someone's trying to poison him. So that's kind of like a red flag. So I talked to my dad, went back and forth. I wound up getting 2 miles away from there. Then all of a sudden, I hear something behind me, turn around, and I'm relieved to see a pretty young guy. He looks quite different than the man did, wearing running gear like he had run in from the trailhead. I yelled over to him and I kind of freaked him out, but I was like, hey dude, I don't want to freak you out, but I've been running from someone for the last half hour. I'm very freaked out. You just scared me. And he was very nice and was like, is it okay if I walk closer to you so we can talk? And I explained to him what had happened, and yeah, he was a nice guy. He wasn't going.
She contacted her father, shared her location, and asked him to inform authorities. A police report was filed, though no immediate search of the shelter took place. After distancing herself from the area, Madison met another hiker in running gear, heading up from the trailhead. Grateful for the company, she continued on with a little more peace of mind. The encounter left her shaken, exhausted, and physically sick from stress. The incident seems more likely to have involved someone unstable or impaired rather than a planned attack. Madison's choice to stay back, run record details, and alert her family and police were smart, situationally appropriate. Safety measures that likely prevented escalation. Was this a distressed individual in need of help, or someone deliberately trying to unsettle a solo hiker?
So, I personally hiked the entire Appalachian Trail from Springer Mountain, Georgia, all the way up to Mount Katahdin, Maine. The entire Appalachian Mountain ridge lines. There's a lot of ghost stories. There's a lot of Bigfoot theories. There's a lot of skinwalker theories. There's a lot of these wicked and evil things, conspiracies or theories or whatever you want to call it, out there in the Appalachian Mountains. People see shadows and hear voices and stuff. Now that has happened. When I was out there, I was hiking along with a buddy of mine. I'm from Tennessee. He was from Virginia. We were hiking along through North Carolina. We're at right around Albert Mountain there. We're walking through the woods along the trail, watching for the white blazes painted on the trees and the rocks to make sure we were on the right trail. Stay on the right path, don't veer off the trail. But came up to a shelter. You know, after dark, it was just getting dark. We were sitting there, built a campfire, getting ready to cook dinner over an open fire before we made our beds, pulled out our sleeping bags and our sleeping pads, and we were cooking dinner there. And all of a sudden, we heard voices. Mind you, neither one of us are schizophrenic, none whatsoever at all. We heard her name. I heard my name being called. Then I heard my friend's name being called, and he heard my name being called, and he heard his name being called. We both heard these voices at the same time. We kind of looked at each other, wasn't sure what to do or where to go. We wasn't sure exactly where the voices were coming from. So we heard our names being called over and over again repetitively. Then, so we thought maybe it was coming from behind the shelter there we were staying at for that night. Mind you, the shelter's just 3 walls and a roof. Front's open. It's just like a lean-to. So we thought it was coming from behind the shelter. So we walked around together behind the shelter. And then we heard laughter. We heard a crowd of people laughing at us. And then we kind of looked in the woods there. We seen a man over there. So we went over there. See who this was. Maybe it was that guy's calling our name or something over there. Walked over there. And the man was a twin. It looked like it was my hiking partner. And he seen that was him. The man looked like him. But he had both eyes were black. Looked like someone punched both of his eyes. And his pupils were black, solid black. His nose was slightly crooked, like maybe somebody broke his nose or something a few times. Had a gash across this cheek with blood coming all down. Had blood all over his face. Looked like he had just been beat to. So we asked the man, "Who are you?" And then he said, "I'm your father." And then he turned around and disappeared off in the woods. So we wasn't sure what to think about that. Pretty bizarre, creepy things can happen in particular areas. Native Americans had these things happen to them back in the past. If you're in the Appalachian Mountains, lock your doors, close your blinds at night. Don't walk out into the woods at night. Just hunker down, stay in one spot. Don't sing, don't yell, don't do any of that. Because there are particular areas on that Appalachian Trail where there are demonic spirits that still roam the mountains during the nighttime hours.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and question everything.